The best way to predict your future is to create it. Abraham Lincoln. Education is a never-ending process starting from the womb till the tomb. Education is the cornerstone of a strong nation building. The Ministry of Education, Scientific Research, Tertiary Education has in line the same vision to empower its nation. Today we have the great pleasure having on board the director, the first permanent director of tertiary among us, to talk about the challenges, to talk about the aim, the vision, the mission of the sector. Let's welcome Professor Kiran Bachchan. Hello and welcome to MNews.
Good morning.
Good morning. Talk about yourself.
Good morning. My name is Kiran Bachchan, like you just mentioned, and I'm the Director of Tertiary Education and Scientific Research in the Ministry of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology. In this role, in the role at the Ministry, we look at the policy perspective of higher education. Why? Because there's a need to ensure that there is a broader picture, the bigger picture of higher education, how to ensure that there is proper program, proper studies, proper encadrement to the students and to the institutions. And these policies are then implemented by the different regulators, one of which is the Higher Education Commission, then there's the Quality Assurance Authority, then there's the Mauritius Qualifications Authority. So all of them then becomes the implementer of policies approved and reviewed and designed by the ministry.
As Director of Tertiary Education, what are your main challenges?
Challenges are many, of course. One of the main one, because there are so many, one of the main one is to continuously promote the higher education sector of Mauritius and ensure that the country becomes really this education hub that we want it to be. And this is a very challenging job because you would realize Mauritius has a number of elements that work in its favor. One, the location, the geolocation of Mauritius is such that we are 1.5 hours ahead of Africa in terms of time and 1.5 hours behind the Indian subcontinent, which makes us ideally located time zone wise to attract students, and these students can then talk to their parents in the nearly same time. That's one. Then we have political stability in Mauritius. There is the rule of law. Mauritius is a democracy that has been there for so many years, and peace, law and order are elements which are fundamental to our society. Talking of society, there is this element of multicultural society of Mauritius, which is so attractive to a lot of international students. So how do we take all these benefits and showcase it to the world and use that to encourage international students to come to Mauritius is one of the job challenges and continuous vision that we work towards. This is one. There are so many more, but I'll focus on this one.
And what is the sector doing to promote and to attract all these international students?
We're doing a lot of things, in fact. And the main one is the sector, the ministry, keeps encouraging the higher education institutions to engage in collaborations with international partners. For example, a number of our public universities are in collaboration with international bodies. I'll just take the example of the University of Mauritius, running programs with the University de Genève, with Bordeaux, or the university, or the Open University having a course with the Imperial College, or so many others, University of Technology, currently signing an agreement with Indian Institute of Management, SIMO. So the aim is not just to stay within notre cocon, comme on dit, but to go out and to collaborate. Because one thing that maybe people do not understand well is that higher education is not a sector which has to be within. It is a sector which has to be expansive, where the work happens through collaboration, where research happens not by thinking inside, but by collaborating with people and together working on finding solutions.
This is really indeed very encouraging for those who are aspiring to be graduates coming to Mauritius and having partners and partnering institutions that will be kind of collaborating with those public institutions. What are the advantages and what is the government doing to attract, and do we have scholarship scheme? What are the facilities that we give to those students to say, please come to Mauritius?
All right. Your question has more than one element to it. The first thing that the government is doing, in fact, this is work in progress right now, is there has been the setting up of an interministerial committee to look at the whole aspect of international students. Because, and you would realize, one of the clauses of the Higher Education Act of 2017 talks of pastoral care. What do we do? What should we do to take care of the students, whether international or local, but how do we take care of them? And this interministerial committee is therefore looking at a number of aspects. If we want to be in higher education hub, we need to look at the aspect of visa. We need to look at the aspect of health. We need to look at the aspect of work. We need to look at the aspect of accommodation. And of course, we need to look at the academic aspect, that the course that is being provided in Mauritius meets the industry demand, not just for Mauritius, but also for the countries which are around Mauritius that we intend to serve. If I give you an example, in terms of course alignment and relevancy, the Higher Education Commission issues every 2 years a document called the List of Indicative Priority Field of Studies,
Correct.
where the Commission does a lot of work, prior work, and then comes out with this list based on the demand and forecasted demand of industry. And what is interesting for us as an education hub is that our neighboring countries, SADC, of which we are a member as well, have also published a similar report. It is called the SADC Training Needs Analysis, and it is published by the SADC Secretariat, which gives us now, Mauritius, an overview of what is it that international countries, other countries in SADC require in terms of training needs, and how can we then plan our own academic programs to meet that demand. The minute we meet that need that is there, then there is this potential to attract students that would then be trained and then can go back to their own country. Higher education is really a flux of people, and we need them to come. We need them because one thing for sure is that international student in any country that has had a hub contributes massively to the local economy. How do we promote that? How do we make higher education an economic pillar of the country?
Agreed. How do we do that?
How do we do that is how do we increase our international enrollment?
Yes.
And this is the whole purpose of this interministerial committee. What do we do to have the optimum conditions for students to come in? Do we get inspired by what is being done elsewhere, like in the UK, where you can apply for a visa online? How do we streamline the process? How do we make sure that any student that comes in has such a wow experience that at the end of their journey, they go out and by themselves, automatically they become ambassadors of the Mauritian higher education sector. So it's something that cannot be done by the ministry alone, cannot be done by any party alone. It is a collaborative work. This is where we need to get the Ministry of Education, but also all other ministries, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Labour, Ministry of the PMO and the PIO, everybody together to create this framework for the students to feel like coming to Mauritius. We have so many of our own Mauritian citizens that send their kids abroad. And usually the first sentence that any parent will ask their kid is, where are you going to stay? And where are you going to stay is a very difficult question for the Mauritian higher education sector to answer right now for the international students. And one of the projects that is in the pipeline right now is the creation of a hostel facilities in the Côte d'Or Education Hub,
Which is the new one.
And this is where many of our public universities are shifting soon, we hope. And the whole purpose is to create this new synergy to where all the different priorities will be aligned.
Professor, hearing you means that the government and the sector is harnessing hard to attract all these students. I mean, you're having a state-of-the-art building, you're having accommodation. I mean, all the ingredients are there to attract all these international students in Mauritius. Are there any scholarship scheme that you offer?
Yes, sorry, I didn't answer your question. We also have at the level of the ministry, since 2013, the Mauritius to Africa Scholarship Scheme. And that scheme was created to align with the demands of SDG 4. So every year, the government of Mauritius, through the Ministry of Education, offers 50 scholarships to African citizens who are residing in countries which are member states of the African Union.
Mm-hmm.
And every year we receive a number of students. And the beauty of this scholarship scheme is that it is very much a wide array. We offer scholarship from people who are studying at diploma level, for example, at Polytechnic, up to a PhD level at any of the public universities. The only two courses that we currently do not offer scholarships are the medicine course, the MBBS, and an MBA. Apart from that, it's quite a wide array of qualifications that we offer. And we keep inviting African students to participate fully in the process and to, avail themselves of this opportunity. Now, this is one aspect. This is the scholarship aspect. And this is the aspect which is touching Africa. But then we should not restrict our internationalization process only to Africa.
Africa, exactly.
Africa, you would know that there is an OECD report, I think it was of 2021, which says that Africa right now has about 450 million youth ready to go to university. And in the next 30 years, this number is bound to increase to 800 million.
Yes.
Because Africa is the only continent that currently has a population dividend.
Mm-hmm.
It is the youngest continent. And out of these 800 million people, for the Mauritian higher education sector to boom, we might need just a very small percentage of that. But how do we tap into this? This is one. Mm-hmm. And along with this, should we not strategically look at other parts of the world? You would know, for example, that even now, currently in Mauritius, about 50% of our international students are not from Africa. They are from India. Because there are so many Indian students who are coming to Mauritius to study medicine. Along with this, how can we tap into other markets? Even though there are markets like Indonesia or Malaysia,
Philippines,
or Singapore, Philippines, who already have an education hub in their own country, there are still students there, just like in the Mauritian context, we have Mauritian students who would wish to go abroad to have this experience of being a student abroad before coming back.
Exactly.
So these are potential markets as well. So how do we keep working into that? And this is another of the aspect that we're looking at the directorate, the internationalization of higher education.
Coming to the answers that you said regarding internationalization, since 2013 till date, I mean, how were the response from these international students? If you get the graph, are they encouraging? Are they higher in numbers, or are they decreasing?
All right. Like all processes, it started slowly.
Exactly.
Because people need to know about it. Then, again, this is more strategy done at the level of the ministry. We entered into some kind of marketing strategy. Mm-hmm. And the marketing strategy involved us being in touch with a number of international institutions like SADC, like UNESCO, because we need to understand, and we are happy about this, that each country has a national commission for UNESCO. Therefore, we had been using all of this platform to showcase and market our scholarship. The same way, we had taken advantage, the opportunity of, I would say, sell Mauritius through our different high commissions and embassies abroad, where all the colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have helped us market these programs. So right now, we are very much on the high trend.
True.
In fact, today is Tuesday, and we have the selection panel this Friday. And from what we know already, we will fill the 50 seats because there are a lot of people coming in nowadays.
So it's very encouraging.
It's encouraging. Yes, it's encouraging.
So the results is that the sector is yielding the fruit of its hard work, and there is a market, and students are literally knowing that there is a country in the middle of Indian Ocean and they have high level of tertiary education that is being catered, and we are like a magnet attracting all these international students.
Exactly.
Now, coming to the local students, what is the sector doing to enhance their level of education? What are the facilities that is being given by the tertiary sector to encourage students to come forward for tertiary education?
Thank you. It's a very important question because it summarizes what is happening.
Exactly.
Right now.
Exactly.
There was, and you would be aware of this, the traditional pathway into higher education,
Correct.
which was a HSC degree.
Master program, and then PhD unit.
Then the ministry, and that is part of the reform, and I will talk about something not higher education. There was this 9-year basic continuous
Schooling.
education reform in primary, which says that every student we should not leave anybody behind. We should give everybody an opportunity to continue. And from that has started this concept, this principle of pathways. So with this kind of mindset, then came polytechnics in 2017. Then in 2019, January 2019, came the free tertiary education scheme, which makes that any Mauritian citizen applying for a first certificate, for a first diploma, for a first degree in any of the public universities no longer have to pay their tuition fees.
Which is really, we admire the effort of the sector, because we know that many of the parents couldn't afford the tuition fees. I think Mauritius is the only country where health is free, transport is free. Was that easy to implement free tertiary?
I mean, yes and no. I usually tell you yes and no. Yes, because there was a demand, and therefore it became, I think, a very easy decision to say, let's ensure that the students or the future leaders of Mauritius are adequately trained. Because we keep saying, it might be a cliche nowadays to say this, but the only resources that we have is human resource.
Exactly.
How do we nurture the resource that we have to make sure that we have the best, most efficient, qualified human resources in the future that will help our own country benefit? So that's the yes part of it. The no part of it is, how do we align procedures? How do we align policies? How do we ensure that a student doesn't shift from University 1 to University 2 to University 3 and benefit 3 times from the same scheme? So, of course, for all challenges, there is a need to have a solution.
A proper monitoring.
And of course, we had a proper solution put in place at the level of the Higher Education Commission, which is the implementing arm of policies of the ministry. We had created the FTES MIS, which then aligns the different person based on their national identity card, which is unique. The person, even if they shift, we can still know, and the amount of money, if you want, that has been earmarked to help somebody shifts along with that person. And this idea of shifting along with that person was what helped us when we said, let's create education pathways. So nowadays, I think it was a couple of weeks back, the cabinet has approved that there is going to be further pathways. So now how to reach higher education, there's a number of ways. One is the normal route. The other way is you can go through polytechnics. Initially, the process was to take polytechnics, then work. But nowadays, it is what we're saying is leave no child behind.
Exactly.
So somebody who's gone to a polytechnic has two choices. Either go to work, or if you want to do further studies, the route is still open.
Tertiary education.
Tertiary education. Somebody who's... This is the whole purpose. The whole purpose is leave no one behind. And how do we enhance our higher education? And this is not anodin. The whole purpose behind this, again, is to embrace the perspective of lifelong learning. How do we keep improving ourselves? There was a World Economic Report, I think in 2021, which says that in the next 5 years, 50% of all labor will need to be reskilled. And this is something we're seeing. AI was not there 2 years back, isn't it?
No.
And nowadays, if somebody said, I am IT literate, but that person is obsolete. Because nowadays, along with
AI and chatbot literate.
AI literate, no
Exactly.
longer IT literate is not enough.
No.
And a lot of people, a lot of working cadres now have to start again, learn afresh. And this is the whole purpose of lifelong learning. And this is where higher education comes into place, because we need also to keep improving. And this is where internationalization is important, because the more we talk in international other institutions, the more we share best practices and the more we improve the quality of our own program. It's really a big circle, isn't it?
Exactly. It's very encouraging for the student who is listening to you right now, Professor Bhajan, who says that, I don't have a place in tertiary education. I don't have a pathway to go and improve and shape my future. I think what that you just said is gonna say that, hang on a minute, there are pathways, there are ways. And the Ministry of Education, the tertiary sector, is doing everything to find a way. We were talking about there is a cabinet decision with regards to more pathways.
Yes.
I'm curious about that.
What it says is there are a number of things. One of the things on which we're working right now is, and it is something mentioned in the Higher Education Act, it says the National Credit Value and Transfer System. What it means also is that somebody can be starting a course at University X. But nowadays, if you want to do a course at University X and then shift to University Y, you need to exit at some point.
Exactly.
Let's say you exit after year 1 with a certificate,
Yes.
or year 2 with a diploma, then you go there.
This is the normal
This is
procedure.
the normal procedure. Now what we're saying with this National Credit Value Transfer System is even if you've done one semester, you've accumulated credits.
Yeah.
Now this credits is like
Transferable.
is transferable.
This is something new.
It's transferable from you. That is, this is what you have earned. Now when you go to another university,
To be taken into consideration.
we're going to set up a mechanism that will accept this, and they will then allow the person to continue.
This is breaking news.
But this is, of course, this is something big. This is something that we need to sit,
Exactly.
strategize, think how to make it happen. Along with this, because this is how, again, the whole beauty of higher education is the more you move, the more it becomes challenging and complicated. Along with this, we have been giving or encouraging people to do short courses online, Udemy, Coursera, Google's, whatever. For example, we had a collaboration, we, the Ministry of Education, through our colleagues at the HEC, signed a collaboration with the Commonwealth of Learning. And for the past 2.5 years or 3 years, we've been giving more than 3,000 scholarships for Mauritian citizens to learn as many courses as they can online. And from memory, I think these people have studied for more than 11,000 micro-credential short courses. Now, we are in a situation where we have given scholarship to people to do micro-credentials, so they have acquired
Accumulated.
short courses, credits.
Correct.
What do I do with this?
You
I
need to
should
have
be
an
able
equivalent.
to recognize it.
Exactly.
So now comes the other part. Along with National Credit Value Transfer System, attached to it now, we are going to bring in the element of micro-credential recognition.
Okay, this is interesting.
Micro-credential recognition, how does it integrate with the normal process? All of this require a lot of strategy, a lot of thinking, a lot of, risk planning and risk management. But all of these are work in progress. And this is what makes higher education
A lot of
challenging
work,
and different
a
from
lot
what-
of work, I should say, and there are lots of information that is being imparted to the citizen of Mauritius, because many of them may not know that their micro credentials has value. That a student who has enrolled to X university and he or she is not happy about that, tomorrow he or she can get a transfer, and this transfer is along with those credit that he or she has accumulated. This is really a good news, and please make it happen, because I think the student will be in a term winner in that situation. Now, apart from students, what is the sector doing for researchers, for people going for master program, PhD program? Because we know that if we want to empower our country, we need to do lots of research.
Perfectly. You're perfectly right. And in fact, the essence of higher education has to be research.
Exactly.
Why? And I keep saying this. Why? Because higher education is about new knowledge. And new knowledge comes from knowledge that either has been created elsewhere or that we wish to create ourselves. And knowledge creation comes from research. What are we doing? Number of things. First, in terms of government direct involvement, government is giving funding that started since 2017 to the Ministry of Education and implemented by the Higher Education Commission for the research fund. So every year, the Commission issues 1 or 2 calls for applications for people to come forward with their research proposals. One thing that the Ministry wishes to emphasize and wishes to encourage is we want to encourage our researchers to produce or to engage in research which is of value. I'm not saying that what you're doing is not of value, but what I'm saying is if you can do research which answers a problem that society faces, the impact increases.
Agreed.
Isn't it?
Agreed.
Along with that, we also understand that the whole complexity of research is such that we may not get an answer within the first cycle of funding or the first financial year or whatever. It might take 10 years to come up with a solution to diabetes, for example. But
It's a case
the
to case.
impact should be there.
Yes.
We should be working, this is the ideal, we should be working towards an objective, and that objective is to solve societal problems, or if not to solve problems, how do we enhance the quality of life of our citizens, of mankind? Those should be the fundamentals of research. So Higher Education Commission has research funds. We have, along with that, the other body which is under the Ministry of ICT right now, Mauritius Research and Innovation Council, which also provides quite a large amount of funding under different schemes. And the way that the Ministry of Education looks at it is research is a spectrum. So under the Ministry of Education, HEC provides funding for researchers to work on their research until such point as they have created a potential product that can be provides funding for researchers to work on their research until such point as they have created a potential product, a potential product that can be put on the market. And this is where this becomes then an innovation, isn't it? It's an innovative product. And this is where the MRIC ideally comes in place and continues this funding to make this potential product into a tangible product that can then be sold on the market. And this is why many of the schemes of MRIC are in collaboration with the industry.
Mhm.
And then this allows the researchers to produce something which is of value to society.
Are we having many responsive researchers on the market right now?
Allow me to answer your question by quoting a very good friend of mine, and he keeps telling me that we do not have the critical mass of researchers in Mauritius. Yes, we do not have them because we are a small country. I think in total, we just did a survey. We have about 500 researchers in all in Mauritius. Not a large number. But again, this is the beauty of higher education. We do not have to do it alone. We can do it in collaboration. And this is why you would see in all the MOUs signed by the different universities, there's always this line which says, promote research through collaboration, through capacity building of researchers and of staff.
Mm-hmm.
Because working together make it happen.
True.
I think that was one, I think that old African proverb works very well for us, If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And this is where I think we have to work together to make progress for society. And research is definitely the way of doing this.
We've talked about now being IT literate is no more the criteria. How is the sector integrating AI in tertiary education?
We are. I'm not saying we are taking it prudently, but this is something that the topic itself has to be taken prudently. So you would know that UNESCO organized a survey at the end of last year, at the end of 2023, which was about the AI Readiness Index.
Yes.
And the AI Readiness Index of Mauritius was something that the committee was chaired by this ministry. In fact, it was co-chaired by the Secretary General of UNESCO at that time and myself. And it came out that, and I think the report is out now, that Mauritius is first in sub-Saharan Africa in terms of AI readiness. This is one. But AI readiness doesn't mean that it has integrated our system yet. How do we start working on this? One of the projects that we have submitted to UNESCO last month is requesting for funding to do a research on AI in higher education. How do we integrate AI in higher education? Nowadays, there is a fallacy, and the fallacy is many people are thinking AI is ChatGPT. How do students do their work faster or by whatever means, and it is ChatGPT? I mean, yes and no. Yes. ChatGPT could help students, but AI is much broader than this. We're looking at the perspective of integrating AI into the teaching, and teaching in terms of personalized teaching. Each child is different. Each child has a different way of learning. Imagine what beauty it would be if I can create a personal coach for each child based on the way that this child wants to learn. Based on the way that this child, this is the way that he can understand better. If I can do this kind of personalized training, coaching, how fast and how far we can go. And this is one aspect of AI. The other aspect of AI is in terms of the administration of higher education. One of the things on which we keep working is career guidance, isn't it? Because we need to ensure that whatever product is coming out of universities is matching the requirement of an industry.
True.
Isn't it? Now, imagine a system where the student can be guided to potential avenues of career based on that student's performance and the way he has been doing his previous exams. Predictive AI for career guidance. And this is and quantitative aspect. But along with this, now, and it has been done in other countries, has been done in India, for example, where along with this quantitative aspect of exams is attached a psychometric test, which looks at the personality, which looks at the psychology of that child. And when you put these two together, the predictive value of career has gone to nearly 95%. Of course, the system doesn't tell you you're going to be a heart surgeon, but it will tell you you have an affinity for medicine. And then you move forward into that direction.
The guidance is there.
The guidance is there. So this is the element of career guidance, AI for career guidance. Then comes the element of AI in the day-to-day use. I was in a round table a couple of weeks back again with the private sector, and I was talking to some colleagues who were CEO of hotels, and they were telling me how right now, using the ChatGPT that students are using to make essays, they have created a prompt where they are doing screening of applications of people who have applied. And the thing that in the normal process could take, I don't know, a couple of weeks to screen 200 applications, they're doing it in 10 minutes. And I was I wanted to know, so I was curious about it. And the person said, not only I get the screened based on the eligibility that I've given, of course, it requires a standard application form. But along with this, they've put the shortlisted candidates based on the criteria, which one could be a stronger candidate and which one could be less strong candidate. And alongside, based on whatever skills these people have said they have, create the list of questions to ask them at the interview.
Does that match the reality?
Isn't it? No, this is being done right now in Mauritius in many of the private sector institutions. So we need to see that the potential for AI is much, much broader than ChatGPT. And how do we integrate that into
And that we also apply to the person who has applied for the job, and then he or she might get the questions which is the possibility to be asked.
Yes. Why not?
So,
I mean, this is using AI for learning.
exactly.
Somebody wants to apply for a job, and they know what is required of them. If they go and ask ChatGPT, I've applied for the job of a company secretary. What are the potential questions that could be asked of me? They will get on to questions.
With answers.
I mean, with the answers, but I believe that the questions are more important than the answers, because then you can put
prepare
your own personal experience in it. It should not be standard answers which do not reflect your personality. So a lot of things. And why it's important for us from higher education perspective, all of this can be done with AI. How do we train our youth to fit into that? Not as users, but as back-end in the programming sector, into the creation of prompt. I did an interview a couple of months back, I think. And one of the youngsters that came for the interview said he has a side job. I was very impressed by this person because it's very proactive. And his side job is prompt writing and prompt selling. So he sits most probably whenever at home, wherever, and he starts preparing prompts that can be used in ChatGPT or other AI platform that will help you get the answer that you want. Let's say the person who wants to apply for a job, he doesn't know what to ask. This guy has already created sets of questions to ask. That, of course, he must be selling for a nominal number amount, but at least this is something happening.
This is happening.
And this is one of the new jobs created by AI that didn't exist 2 years, 3 years back.
We can't think about that.
Isn't it?
Exactly.
So AI, there's a lot of potential, and we need to know how to use that.
And what are the risks associated with?
I mean, of course, the risk, and this is something, again, that has been recognized even at international level, at UNESCO level, the risk is the time that we take to regulate
This
is much, much slower than the rate at which the technology is progressing. I'll give you an example. We have been working on a policy to control the use of smart devices in exams, for example. So at some point we heard people were coming with smart watches or smartphones, etc. So by the time we start working on a policy to prevent this, or at least to control this, somebody said, now on the market, somebody is selling glasses where the student, when they focus, they see the images appearing or the items appearing there. So how fast do we move that we beat technology? That's the risk. We can't.
We can't.
It is just that we need to accept this, but at least we limit it and we keep reviewing it as often as possible.
Professor, as the Director of Tertiary, how would you rate our public institution in terms of recognition, in terms of quality education, in terms of how, because we are there to attract international students, our local students, how good the institutions are? Instead of going abroad, we should be encouraging them to stay here and get the quality education. In your views, how do you rate your public TEIs?
Of course, very, very nice question. Thank you for that. The public, let me rephrase this, the public and even the private higher education institutions of Mauritius are of high caliber. They are institutions that are recognized globally, that have all gone through a strict regulatory process, both at the level of the Higher Education Commission in terms of how they were established, how they are registered, how their programs are accredited, and how the programs, each one of them, as well as the institution, are quality assured and quality audited. So I have no doubt at all that the quality and the level of education being imparted at all the public and the private institutions of Mauritius. What I keep encouraging them to do is to be more, more ahead in their planning and look at internationalization and how do we bring in more and more international students. Because we need, and this is the conundrum that we have at the level of higher education. We are at the top, let me not say the top, we are at the end of education spectrum. So we do not control the number of students at primary or at secondary, and we are in that sector where we need now to produce the human resources for economic growth. And we are in a situation where we are declining, we have a declining demography.
Yes.
So we have less and less students joining in, and I need to create more and more resources for the for the economy.
Yes.
How do we do that? One way is improving the system, going more for AI so that there is increase in efficiency without an increase in manpower, or we bring in more manpower. This is what we are seeing in Mauritius right now. If you see the number of international students working in a number of our sectors, and these are all contributing to the economy of the country. So how do we mix all of this? Is again one of the beautiful conundrum of higher education, and the one that this directorate has to look at every now and then.
In conversation with Professor Bhajan, Director of Tertiary Education and Scientific Research, well, we can keep on talking and talking and talking. There are so much things to be discussed. At the end, your message.
The message, I think, for not just students, but for everyone, is that education should not be, I have a degree and I'm happy with it. Education is something which is a lifelong process. We need to keep learning. You need to keep improving, especially in this VUCA world in which we're working, in which we're operating, where technology is changing so fast. If we want to keep being efficient, if we want to be on top of our job, lifelong learning remains the only answer right now.
Coming to that, as you said that everything is changing, does the public and private TEIs adapt to the changing technologies and the demand of the market?
Yes, of course they do. Within the time that it takes, it is now on the market, isn't it?
Sure.
And this is based on the demand, and it is based on the requirement. Similarly, the sector keeps changing, and the changes has to be from the level of the university, adapting to the demand, adapting to the needs of society, so that, there is progress.
It was really inspiring to be in conversation with Professor Bhajan, the Director of Tertiary. Professor, thank you so much for your time and your inspiring words. Wish you all the best and continue your good work.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Avec News Mauritius.